He's the man. He's the myth. He's the legend. He's the scientist with all the answers and all the questions. It's time for another episode of Alex's Science Corner.
Thank you. And there's the 30 seconds.
Okay.
He's very time conscious. Alex, what's going on in the wide, wide world of science, my friend?
All right, a bunch of space news, mostly food related, which is, I'm disappointed that Darnell's not here for these stories.
He may be
Especially
listening.
the food ones,
Yeah.
He may be listening.
Oh, story number 2 is got Darnell written all over it. But story 1 is that astronauts, when they're on the International Space Station in space for a couple months, they found that they're losing a lot of weight. And let's not do the jokes about they're in orbit, they're weightless, they're losing weight. They're
I
actually
was just thinking it's crappy food.
Well, it has more to do with they're not eating enough. And what they are figuring out is that when they are in the microgravity environment, the food is floating in the astronaut's stomach. So normally when you're in gravity, the food is settled at the bottom of your stomach, and as you eat, it fills up. And when, your stomach fills up, then you get the feeling of that you're full. Well, in the zero gravity environment, the food is floating around in your stomach, so your stomach thinks it's full even if it's not, because the food is...
Oh, see, now I was thinking it was going to be just the opposite. If it's floating around in the stomach, I'm thinking there's there's a gap between the stomach wall and the food, so it thinks that it's always they're always hungry.
They're actually the opposite. They actually fill up very quickly. They don't have to eat a lot to get that full feeling. So now they're trying to figure out ways of getting them to eat more, even though they have that full feeling.
Well, why don't they just give them higher calorie food?
They do have pretty high calorie food.
I
and one
highly
of the things
recommend ice cream.
They still it doesn't take a lot of food to fill you up, and I mean their food is high calorie, and one of the reasons why they go with high calorie food is because bringing all that food up, the more volume you bring up, the more expensive it is to bring it up.
The weight, yeah.
Yeah.
It's added
So
weight.
they
if you
still
got
want to bring the high
small,
calorie food.
dense food that's high
Right.
calorie.
And the astronauts have to do a lot of exercising on the space station too, because we do even just basic sitting down. We're doing a lot of exercising because we're always fighting the pull of gravity. In space, you're not fighting that pull of gravity, so your muscles and your bones atrophy a lot faster. So to make up for that, they try and do as much exercising as they can. And most astronauts have to do between an hour to 2 hours a day of exercising.
Weight loss camp in space. That's what we've got.
All you have to do is just go up there, and that's it.
Yeah. You spend, 6 weeks up there in space and come back 30 pounds lighter.
And it's only $20 million to do that.
Well, it's a high priced, it's, the
But you'll lose
luxury.
a few pounds, right?
Yeah, that's what all I care about is losing that weight. Coming back, and you're on a exercise program, come back, better shape than you were before.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
No.
Why not?
No, because your muscles and your bones atrophy.
Oh.
And even though they're doing that much exercising, it is not enough to keep up with the amount you're atrophying. So after about 6 months, if you ever see the pictures of the astronauts coming back, they're landing in Russia, they have to be lifted out of the space capsule, and they have to be put in easy chairs, and it takes about a week of rehabilitation before they're able to really walk properly again.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So it is.
But that's after a year. They're up there for a year.
Yeah, after a long time, 6 months to a year, that takes.
So 6 weeks. I mean, they can do that in 6 weeks.
Yeah, so you let your bones and muscles atrophy during that time. Next story is researchers are trying to find a way of getting microbes to turn human waste into food. So now we know that, I didn't need Darnell now.
Soylent Green.
That is exactly what I was going to say. Soylent Green.
Yeah, no, that's people.
Charlton Heston, where are you?
Yeah. It's people.
No, it's poo. So we've all known, farmers have known that you can use poo to act as a fertilizer. It's an intermediate step to getting the food. But what the researchers are trying to do is turn the actual waste into the direct food source by having microbes eat the food. Now, they found a microbe that will work. They're just trying to find a way of getting that microbe to survive and eat the waste so that the microbe, and then have enough of the microbes so that you can eat the microbes. So,
Is this some apocalyptic future for us where we...
Well, it has all to do with carrying stuff into space, because everything you carry up into space is really, really expensive to carry up. So the more stuff that you can recycle up there, the less you have to carry up. So, and that's why they've gone through the water recycling, where they recycle the urine and make it into drinking water again. We've talked about that.
Yeah, Matt Damon. Matt Damon did this on Mars. He took poo.
You're obsessed with that movie. You really are obsessed with that.
It's Matt Damon. It's Matt Damon. It has nothing to do with Mars.
I think she just has a crush on Matt Damon.
Yeah. Now, here he used the intermediate step of using the poo as fertilizer for the potatoes.
Yes.
This is going to be they're going to use the poo, and then what comes out of the container afterward is an edible microbe.
It's going to be edible.
Yes.
Okay. Not happening.
Okay.
And last story is a quick note about there's a group. It's a rocket company, and called Rocket Lab. They launched a satellite from New Zealand, and astronomers are kind of ticked off about the satellite that these guys launched, because these guys launched a disco ball into space. No, I mean, first of all, they're tossing the rocket up there they're trying to build a rocket. They're building a rocket, and they put satellites on the rocket, but one of the satellites that they put on the rocket is a big metal sphere with shiny mirrors all over it. And the reason they did that is to show how cool it is. And astronomers are really ticked off about it, because, great, another shiny thing that actually does nothing compared to other satellites. And so you've got this really reflective ball that's going to start when you're trying to take pictures of stars, and you've got this big flashy thing going through your pictures. So astronomers are kind of ticked off, but these guys tossed this ball to show that their rocket works.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a question about, this is a serious question, believe it or not, coming from me. Is there some organization...
Glad you told me that, and I'm sitting down. So.
Is there some international organization that keeps track of all the satellites that are up there? Because you've got this independent organization from New Zealand shooting a rocket up with satellites.
All rocket launches of any kind have to be reported to the UN. The reason is that so everybody knows that more stuff is going up. They are kind of keeping track of it, not as intensely as like the major governments are. NASA and the U.S. Air Force will keep track of anything that's the size of a screw bolt as soon as they can figure out the orbit. And they've got specialized telescopes that the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. NASA have that are only used for tracking anything that's up in orbit, because they want to know what's up there, so that if they toss something up there, they
exactly
know
that. That was my point.
It's not as what the UN does is not as heavy duty as what NASA, and I know the Soviets and the Chinese are doing the same thing as what.
So there's probably people within those organizations sharing information. No,
the UN shares with everybody, but the NASA probably shares, but the other governments, Air Force is not sharing with other, and the Chinese and the Russians are not sharing.
That's our cue. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. If you have any questions about these stories or anything else science related, feel free to call Alex right now at 203-837-9924.